Hello. Hello. Right. Welcome to SASC of King's University's quick guide to ethics for research. This is a very quick guide to ethics for research because if you're doing research, each of your subject areas, each of your departments will have their own research ethics guide, which you need to have read. Because if you get it wrong, you can be in trouble. Now, SASC, what do? Well, basically, we do everything up to, but not quite including proofreading your work. We will check things, we will comment, we will ask questions, we'll generally help as much as we can. But, we do say this is a small but. We're not proofreading, so we're not going to go through line item, every single line, go click, 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 click. We'll show you examples, we'll point to big trends in your work. We will even point to commas, and sometimes we will do pretty much broad stream proofreading almost. But we cannot comment on the content. That's your supervisor's role. And if you are doing specifically, if you're not doing enough referencing, we will say, but if you're doing the referencing incorrectly, we will send you to the library. Simply because almost every single department has their own standard version of Harvard they are using. Or some of them aren't even using Harvard in this university. Causes us fun, but the people who will always know exactly what style of referencing you're supposed to be doing will be your subject librarian. So know them, give them chocolates, make them happy. But on a serious note, talk to them. They're the best ones who can help you. Keywords for writing. Well, today we're going to be concentrating on the ethics and best practice part of it. Ethics and good manners. For pre-dissertation, plagiarism. You do it, that is, if you copy anyone else, you get into trouble. Now, if you are referencing works and you're citing it correctly and you have it in your bibliography, that's okay. But again, don't use huge chunks. I can't give you marks if I'm marking your work for quoting other people. I can give you marks for taking other people, putting it in your own words and analyzing it. But you still need to cite where you got that information from, because in the nicest way, if you're quoting a figure of 3 million barrels of oil, I need to know where it is. And just telling me where the book is and what book it's in is not enough. You have to tell me the page number. The reason that is because if it's a specific reference, it needs a specific quote, it needs a specific reference. So if it's a specific fact, you're not just summarizing someone's general argument from their entire work, then you need to give me a specific reference so I know where to look it up in that book. Because if it's a book the size of this, and you say there's a fact in here, well, I have a choice. I can spend my entire time searching the entire book to try and find the fact, which may or may not be in there. Or I can say you've wrongly referenced it. Now, if I've got one essay to do and I'm in a particularly nice mood, I might well go look through the book. But if I'm marking 300 essays, how can I do that for everyone and be fair? And get it done on time to get it all handed back to you? I can't. So at that point, I have to wonder and have to presume if you know this. So, save yourself a lot of trouble. Save us a lot of trouble. Specific fact, specific reference. Put in the page number. Referencing tells us the quality of your work in terms of it tells the quality of a research. If you have got 3 or 4 sources and they're just from a Google search, then I don't think you've put much effort into the research. if you've got a mixture of sources, if you've gone on to ICAT at Kingston University, and you've used it to get some journal articles, you've read some books, and you've done some web articles, then I'm going to be sufficiently impressed when I flick through your reference list, especially when I see you've used them, that I'm going to be thinking already good things about you when I'm marking your work. I know that sounds terrible, but it's impressions matter when it comes to the quality of your work. We don't have any details on the work. We have your KU number and we have what's there in front of us. And what is there in front of us will guide us. So if you have literally are turning in a piece of work which is sloppy, badly presented, and has had minimum research, and then in the nicest way, the impression is not going to be good. So when we're going through marking it, it's marker psychology. It's also bad ethics to not try your best, I would say. Because I'd say if you're accepting to do a task, then ethically, you should do your best to deliver it. If you have a good reason for not being able to, that's a different matter. But all other things aside, if you are all fine and you've accepted it to a task, doing it properly is what behoves you. For a dissertation, firstly, read your research ethics guides. Read them. Actually read them. I have read most of them, which is why I have fun when students come to me and tell me, oh, I can do this. And I go, are you sure? Yeah. Have you checked page 49 of your research guide? Open it up. I haven't got it. Save them. They're all available electronically, so if you do lose the hard copy, that's fine. Secondly, read them. Learn them. Don't get yourself into silly problems because of them. Do not gather information under false pretenses. Do not. Don't lie and pretend you're something you're not. Gets you into trouble. Make sure you keep a record of everything. So if you do interviews, record them. Make sure you have a recording, both of the sound, and then type up a transcript of it. Make sure the transcript is agreed. And use the transcript, put the transcript in your appendices, and use that as the thing you can reference when you're doing your work. Check your supervisor. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Okay? So if there is something fishy going on, if someone is, let's say, you're interviewing lots of people from different companies, and one of the people from one company says they'd love to, and one company says they'd love to see the interview done with someone else, the answer is no. Can they read a final copy of it? Only they can only read it if everyone can read a copy of the final version, and then check your supervisor. Okay? Don't get into those sort of issues. Do not have personal relationships with your interview subjects. Okay? By this, I'm actually referring, everyone always thinks I'm referring to, I don't know, kissing or relations like that. Actually, no. I'm referring to a young gentleman who decided to interview his father and his grandfather as part of his business, his review of construction businesses. And helpfully, then decided to spend quite a lot of his dissertation playing off the two quotes against each other, and then showed it to them. He was a master's student. His dissertation at the time was due in September, and I am told, because I did meet him again in January the following year, that Christmas was suitably problematic because of it. So my advice is, if you are going to interview people who you have a personal relationship with, make sure they understand it's an academic work. Make sure they understand that you will be sort of comparing standards, and try and tell them in advance if they're going to be particularly in trouble with it, if they might not like it. But if you handle it sensitively, you can manage these things. But my advice for a happy and peaceful life is not to. I would love to say that particular young man and his grandparent and his grandfather and father were the only example I have of that from far too many years of SASCing, but it's not. So just be careful. But also, again, please don't interview someone and then try and invite them out on a date as well. That also is problematic. I just realized from the beginning what I might have said at the beginning might sound that's okay. That's not okay either. The grandparent, the grandfather, father, grandson / son issue, that was a nightmare. But yeah, right. That was the quick introduction to ethics. If you have any problems, come talk to SASC. We'll try and sort you out. There's not much we haven't heard before. Really, not much we haven't heard before. Take care.